Hey.
Yeah, we're back at it again. Here we are on Wednesday at noon, like we try to be every week, and we're talking to our investors that are interested in investing here in Northeast Ohio. We try to bring topics that everybody's going to be interested in, and this week we're talking about POS. Typically, that stands for piece of.
Yeah, well, sometimes it's the same thing.
It sure is, but really, what it is point of sale. There's a lot of municipalities here in Northeast Ohio that require point of sale inspections. So what I repeatedly see is I see my out-of-state investors asking about certain territories, or not even asking. They just start running their numbers and trying to find a property that is really, really high on cash flow. And unfortunately, a lot of these cities or municipalities that have the point of sale, those are the ones that I see them constantly sending over to me. So they'll find a property that's $150,000 and it looks like there's a 10, 15% return on their money. And they call me and I say, well, let me look into it. And I pull it up. The first thing I look for, is there a point of sale inspection? And on that point of sale inspection, are there outstanding things that need to be completed that the buyer is going to be responsible for? Often it's the entire list. I've seen these lists, just off of my own knowledge, end up being $80,000, $90,000 worth of work. Well, your cash flow that looked like it was 10% or 15%, when you add $90,000 worth of improvements to that property, it sucks the life right out of it.
Just the numbers all together.
Yeah. So let's talk about the good and the bad, though. The point of sale in the first place. What really is a point of sale inspection? I'll ask that to you guys.
Go ahead, Frank.
It's a piece of no.
There we go.
Certain cities have designated that if a property is going to transfer, they've got to do a city inspection, a point of sale, and it can be so nitpicky. It can be good, but it can also be so nitpicky, like remove the bird's nest from the gutter, where something like that, or make sure the address is affixed to the front of the house. But it could be big stuff too. The idea is they want to keep their houses at a certain level and a certain value, and yet it a lot of times, in my opinion, creates a difficulty as far as getting a good buyer into that house that would take care of that property.
Yeah, a lot of times the sellers, they don't have the cash to do the repairs, so they want to transfer that onto the buyer. But what happens a lot of times is there's a value that is created by real estate agents that they say, okay, this property, based on what other homes have sold for in the area, is worth this much. But they fail to take into account that there's an additional $90,000 worth of expenses that need to be paid in order to make that property transfer properly and get everything up to speed. I would almost call a point of sale inspection a municipal homeowners association. That's really what they're trying to do.
What it is. And the fact is, it's money you've got to come up with right at close if you're going to assume those repairs, that you got to put it in the escrow company.
Right. It's the municipality or the city making an attempt to keep all of the properties in their territory. They're trying to keep the values up so that it doesn't get into be a complete disrepair, because let's face it, just some people are going to take all the profits and never put it back into the property. And if the municipality didn't have that inspection, it would transfer, but it would remain a dump and it would bring other property values down around it. So there's strengths, but there's also weaknesses. And the strength would be that the municipality is almost taken into their responsibility to try to keep the values up on these properties and keep everything from being in disrepair. That the downfall of all this is going to be that the point of sale inspection, depending on how much is wrong with the house, can be quite expensive, and it can be a time sucker too, because the point of sale inspection isn't typically available to the end consumer through the MLS. As realtors, we're the ones that point it out and say, well, here it is, and we hand it over to the buyers and go over it with them. If it was available directly to them, they could find out much sooner and not spend 10, 20 minutes on each property running their numbers to only find out those numbers aren't real, because now we have to add this large chunk to that. But let's dive into the point of sale inspection itself. I know, Cheech, you got one of those that you have available there to you. Just go over like the main points of what is it that they're inspecting.
Well,
thought,
let me clarify this by saying that the seller completed a lot of the inspections or a lot of the issues already on this point of sale. And yet my point of sale inspection is over and under number, guys. How many pages you think it is?
13.
40.
5.
Sean?
He's playing the prices right, and he said $1.
5.
76 pages.
Ooh, Mike wins that one.
I almost said 80. Jeez.
Now, I haven't gotten through this one all the way yet. This is for one of my clients, and I'm reviewing it for him. Big thing is replace the driveway that I saw right off the bat. I see little stuff like clean up miscellaneous junk and debris in the rear of the yard area. All right? Clean up your yard. Secure address numbers to the front of the house and replace the driveway. So you're talking from little things, putting the address on the house, maybe $4, at Home Depot, picking up stickers or however you want to do that. But the driveway, you're talking huge. Scrape and paint window components throughout as needed. Repair, replace broken, missing, cracked siding as needed. Remove air conditioner brackets if no longer in use. I mean, just all sorts of little. It's everything from huge projects to honey-do list.
Right.
But in the meantime, we've got to put a price to this. What it's going to cost for my out-of-state investor to get everything here done.
Which is a different number than what an in-state investor would have.
If I was going to live in that house, it's a whole different ballgame.
Right.
So, this could get quite expensive.
Now you've seen a bunch of these point of sale inspections. Are they all the same? Do they all inspect the same things?
No, some of them aren't as detailed. Some of them like one thing this does. This looks almost like, and I'm looking at it when I'm turning. This looks almost like a home inspection report where they've broken down all the categories. Like section 304.10 is stairways, decks, porches, and balconies. Section 304.11 is chimneys and towers. So, I mean, they've broken it all down and they go through each one and either say, okay, it's acceptable as is, or no, something needs to be done.
So let me ask you a question. Does it depend on the municipality and or the inspector? Frank,
yes.
And following up on that, are there areas that we know of that might be a little more easy or lenient that we can steer our clients towards?
My personal opinion is anytime you're dealing with a city zoning inspector or point of sale inspector,
yep,
they're on a power trip. I probably shouldn't say that out loud.
That's why I asked, yeah.
That's a fair answer. As far as a point of sale inspection, if I'm a buyer, do I still need to do a home inspection if I wanted to?
Yeah, they're different. They're not going through, I don't believe they're going through and checking polarity of plugs and GFIs and things like that. Now they might, I guess it depends on the city. However, I don't know if I would consider a point of sale as my home inspection.
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't. That's why I asked the question. Is there two different?
Oh, I'll give you an example. That one we had in Cleveland Heights. Remember the 2-family we had in Cleveland Heights, 3-family, and we had some point of sale inspection stuff on there, which had nothing to do with what the home inspector found on there. The home inspector found some back panel electrical stuff that wasn't up to grade. The point of sale inspector didn't find any of that. The point of sale inspector found the bird's nest in the gutter,
right?
Which your home inspector probably wouldn't even say. When the gutter's coming down, there's a bird's nest laying in there. So it's not stopping the gutter, I guess.
So ultimately, home inspection, hiring a general home inspector versus using a point of sale inspection as your inspection, they're two different things. And as a buyer, you need to decide, do you want to, in addition to seeing the general or the point of sale inspection, do you want to conduct a general home inspection when you're purchasing a property as well. And by all means, that's discussed, and the decision is made after your realtor walks through the property and shows you on video and stuff, and you make a decision from there. Do I need it or do I not? At that point. Now let's talk about what are some of the municipalities here in Northeast Ohio that require this. Sean, do you have a list there in front of you that starts us off?
So the city of Cleveland, Lakewood, Euclid, Shaker Heights, South Euclid, Cleveland Heights, Mayfield, University Heights, and Maple Heights. And I think Frank has some extras.
Yeah. Well, first off, just take the city of Cleveland and Lakewood. Those are different than the normal point of sale inspections. All right. So the other ones are all city point of sale inspections: Euclid, Shaker Heights, South Euclid, all the ones you named. There are quite a few other ones: Garfield Heights, Newburgh Heights.
It's almost anything that ends in Heights has something to do with it.
Anything that ends in Heights and is on the east side of Cleveland. Yeah. Because out of that list that Sean and I just said, there's only one that's on the west side, which is Lakewood. Lakewood's point of sale is a little different. And could somebody tell me why it's different than the others?
No, I'm not sure. Go ahead and tell us.
The only time you need a point of sale inspection in Lakewood is if you are selling a property you do not occupy. If you were living in that, and Lakewood is full of owner-occupied two families. I mean, coming out of college, that's where we all got our start. We buy a two-family FHA, live in one half, rent out the other half type thing. If you're living in it, there's no point of sale requirement. The city of Cleveland doesn't have a point of sale. The city of Cleveland has something else, and that's what?
The lead inspection.
Lead inspection, correct. So those two are a little different. And as far as point of sales go, and if I'm wrong, let us know in the comments, because I may be. Almost all point of sales that we have are all right now presently east side of Cleveland and in Cuyahoga County. So our Summit County doesn't have point of sales. Our Stark County doesn't have point of sales, as far as I'm aware of.
That's correct down south, Frank.
Okay. Now, Medina, where we live, they were trying to do a point of sale here. And they were trying to do one in Brunswick. It didn't pass.
Didn't pass. So we don't have it currently, but point of sale, like I said before, it has its good features and it has its bad. It keeps the properties updated. It keeps them in decent condition where it's not affecting your next door neighbor's property and bringing values down if they can maintain just a standard of property appearance or maintenance through these inspections. So that is the strength. Unfortunately, the weakness again is on that numbers side of things. If you're an investor, you run the numbers, and if you didn't take into account what's on that point of sale, your numbers are going to be off. So make sure that if you're running numbers and you're talking to your realtor, that you're asking, is there a point of sale inspection on this property, and what items have been done by the seller versus what items are they telling me that I need to do after the sale as the buyer?
You know what, real quick, and you said, it's to keep the neighborhoods up. And yet, if you think about the majority of neighborhoods with point of sales, they are not ones that you'd consider, they're the lower price neighborhoods. Is that the reason? What came first, the point of sale or the price decline?
I'm not sure what came first as far as when the inspections were implemented, but I would guess that just like in Medina, same thing, it passing through legislation of getting these inspections approved is an effort to keep a standard. I mean, it's not going to make the prices go up necessarily, but we don't want to watch them continue to decline because, especially right now in this market, we have a ton of out-of-state investors that are purchasing properties that they may or may never see. And they don't know without some type of point of sale what things need to be done to keep it to that standard.
And now also, I think our investors need to be aware of one other thing. We're talking about when they're buying the property. What happens when they sell the property? If they bought in an area with a point of sale, when they sell it, chances are they're still going to have that point of sale. And now they're going to have to bring that property back up to right now. It's a seller's market. So So right now, buyers are being forced in a lot of cases to assume the point of sale. When that pendulum shifts and it's a buyer's market and that seller decides to sell, they could be stuck responsible for all those point of sales before they get that property sold.
Yeah, the seller sure has the power right now where when you go to sell 10 years from now, we don't know if it's going to be a buyer or seller's market. We don't have that crystal ball. If I did, I probably wouldn't be on this video right now.
We'd be retired already, right?
But we don't know when we're going to sell. So, that point of sale where right now they're telling you, hey, you do all the repairs. At that point, the buyer might be in control and they say, you do all the repairs as a seller if you want to sell this property.
Yeah.
Because I have 20 other ones that I could buy.
So sellers need to keep that in mind. A lot of our investors seem to gravitate towards where the point of sales are just because the properties are lower priced. And they think cash flow, although that's not necessarily, we've talked about this in other videos, we don't need to talk about it in this one. Just because it's lower priced, it's not necessarily a better cash flowing property.
Right.
They have to keep in mind the point of sale now, the point of sale later. So.
All right. Anybody else have anything they want to throw out there about these point of sales before we sign off? All right, 16 minutes. That's our shortest video ever. Let's shut it down, Isaiah.
Nice.
And we'll do it again next week. Hey, listen, before we get off here, next week is going to be a really good interview.
Yeah.
We have a property manager coming on, but it's not just any property manager. It's a property manager that specializes in short-term rentals. So if you're looking for higher cash flows, you want to be watching this video because short-term rentals, they get much higher cash flows than these long-term rentals do. A little more involved, but watch the video and he's going to dive into what's all involved so that you can purchase a property and get those higher returns that you strive for.
Right. That's going to be an exciting one. I'm looking forward to that.
All right. Thank you guys, and we'll see you next week.
All right.
Good to go.
Take us out, Isaiah.